Join us now, Walter Piecyk, a partner at LightShed and an Apple analyst. And how did this hit you when you heard, Walter? I guess it's none of it is a total surprise. Was the timing a surprise or not so much?
I mean, the timing was a surprise to a lot of people. I think we called for a change last year, in the summer of last year, because of the challenges that they were having in AI and the fact that, I mean, it's true, everything the president said, that he did an excellent job over the last 15 years. He's exactly what Apple needed. It wasn't the creativity. He had Johnny Ives there, right, for a large portion of that to help with some of the more recent products, like the watch and the AirPods. But now we're in a new AI era, right? And we needed someone to focus on product and get more involved in developing new products. There were some great products that they had in development, like an autonomous car, and that got left by the wayside. Others that they launched, like the Vision Pro, that didn't do so well. So it was time. So it wasn't a surprise in that regard. Although when we came out with that call a year ago, saying that this is what should happen, everyone was insisting, no way, this is Tim Cook's life. He's going to be there for years and years, and there's no way he's going to step away from this company. So I think it is a surprise in terms of the timing. And maybe the reality is that, the AI continues not to go well, and there's been, incremental management turnover there, particularly in the area of AI, that, either whether it was Cook acknowledging this himself, there was a time for a change, for new leadership to take them into the AI era.
Everything that's written about the new individual is about hardware. Is Apple always going to be predominantly hardware, or like so many stories that we've seen in the past, if you're not nimble, you get sort of replaced by more nimble competitors? Does it have to tack completely to software? And is this a gentleman that could get that done in addition to what Apple's really good at, the ecosystem, the hardware, and everything else?
It feels like I've been hearing them having to, get away from the exposure to the iPhone for a decade, and it's still, half the revenue of the company. Even the services, which has grown, is directly tied to the phone, right? $20 billion they're getting from Google to be the search engine. All of the services that are on there are driven by the iPhone. In fact, every time you buy an iPhone, they're allocating a portion of that revenue into that services line. So this is still an iPhone-driven company, but to continue to grow rather than having this cyclicality where some years you're down, other years that, you've got this mouse going through the snake where people need to upgrade their phones. You have a couple quarters of growth. They're going to have to find a new category. And when you're a company that's generating $400 billion of revenue, that's not easy to find, Joe. And in terms of the software, and Ternus, like, look, I get the knock where, hey, I'm an equipment person or whatever. But I think what AI has shown us is do you have to be a software expert to succeed in AI? It's the exact opposite. AI is actually trying to help you, but you need someone that maybe can change a culture at Apple that needs changing, I think, going into this AI era. I'm not sure what their, back to work schedule is in terms of number of days they're spending at the company or how involved Cook has been in some of these product developments. But I think Ternus will offer an opportunity to maybe, help that culture to execute on figuring out, what their role is in AI. And obviously they can play a very important one. It's in everyone's hand, right? So they have the opportunity to succeed, but AI is not going to wait for them to figure it out. It's going to move on. And as we approach this agentic era, right, that is going to, create a new risk for Apple that has not existed before.
But this is the ultimate question, Walter. They either have to take the position and lean into the idea that they are going to be a distribution platform, that they are a device maker, and the device maker is where the processing is going to happen, and that is their opportunity or not. Or you have to believe that the LLM and the software itself is really where the magic happens, and that unto itself is going to bypass at least this form of distribution. For example, I've always thought that Google should have run away with this a million years ago, and we should all be, at least in the United States, the rest of the world has already gotten there, on Android phones. But for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. And so the question is, how long you think you can hold the center as a result of sort of creating this ecosystem?
I mean, Apple's pitch is going to be, they're going to thread the needle, and they're the ones that pair the hardware and the software best. And the pitch that they made now 2 years ago, coming up on the second WWDC, since these promises of AI, which have not been delivered, You know, the theory was you run these models on the phone itself. You don't rely on the outside very large models. You protect the privacy, right? You know, Cook was the one basically not giving the FBI information, like saying like we're very, you know, connected to our customers and protecting their privacy. So that's the playbook that you run, assuming you can build those small models. And obviously they have not been able to do that. Now they're trying to rely on Google to help them do that. They've gotten some help from the government, right? You had Judge Mehta, who determined Google was a monopoly, but didn't cut the $20 billion that Google, you know, was paying them as part of that. So really basically no remedies in terms of that determination. So they're going to hope to cross that border. But I think you're right. And I think what's different this time in terms of Google's potential ability, or maybe even others, is agentic. You know, OpenClaw is not that old, and it's changed how people are looking at how agentic and how I may not go directly to that Uber app. My agent might be booking that Uber, you know, with the specific car that I want on the specific route, or maybe going back and forth with Lyft and Waymo and others to get the lowest price. That could change how we use our phone. And if Google's advancing with Gemini and Apple's like relying on small models that maybe don't do that functionally as well, that could be an opportunity for major market share changes. AI is obviously a game changer. Everyone agrees with that. And as we enter this era, Apple has to have, you know, an answer. And they could be very powerful in that. They just have to come up with the right answer.
You know, I think it's worth pointing out that AI has probably caused a lot of CEOs to rethink what they're doing and kind of focus on these things. We had Walmart's Doug McMillon step down at the age of 60 this year. We had Coca-Cola's James Quincy step down at the age of 60 this year. Tim Cook stepping down at the age of 65. And both Doug McMillon and James Quincy have told us on this program that part of the reason they stepped down was because they were looking at the next revolution, this AI revolution, realizing they would have to sign up for at least 2 to 3 years to see that through. I don't think they were ready to do that. I wonder how much this AI momentum has kind of put, not that these are people who didn't have fabulous track records, not that they weren't there for a long time, but both of them who sat here on the set said the same thing, that they were ready to hand that over to the next person, and you wonder if Tim Cook was kind of thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Right.
And remember, his style is not one that was like working with the product teams and working with the software teams directly. He was getting them into China, enabling Foxconn, moving all that manufacturing to China, working with the president and getting that, repatriating the dollars back from Ireland. That wasn't necessarily the skill set that the company needed over the time. He was great for investors over the past 15 years, but now when you're looking for growth and really defending your dominant share that exists today, it's going to take a new skill set.